Hey team, welcome back to the second video in the training for the Grow and Get It Goal Getters Club. I'm super psyched for this one because here's where we start to get super organized, which is actually the title of this particular exercise, Organize. This is where we take all of the dreaming that you did in the first video and we get really organized with getting them clearer and clearer into a well-defined, well-articulated and specified goal. So, after the exercises that you did in the first video, you should have a list of generally things that you want. These could be things that you want to be, things that you want to do, things you want to have, things that you want to give, right? So here's where we get organized. Now, on this portion of your workbook, remember it's a free PDF to download. I strongly suggest you download it because you're otherwise going to be lost. You get to put those wants, those desires, onto a mind map. Now, this particular exercise was inspired by the amazing folks over at the Passion Planner Camp. And basically what we do is we take all of your desires, all of your wants that came out of that first dreaming series of exercises, and we put them into a timeline. Now, the timeline that you see on the workbook is going to be 3 months, 1 year, 3 years, my lifetime. So at some point in my lifetime, for example, I would love to, let's say, live in my dream house. I build my dream home on 10 acres of land and have a bunch of horses running around. Whatever you want, and it could be just a phrase, it could be a fully fleshed out idea, it could be just kind of remnants of I think I want this kind of thing, but I'm not super crystal clear on it yet. That's okay. The clearer the better, obviously, but if it's not clear at this point and it's not clearly stated, that's okay because we're going to get there. The rest of the process helps you get there. So these dates, 3 months from now, 1 year from now, 3 years from now, and your lifetime, these are not deadlines. Okay, we're not setting a deadline on a goal just yet. We're getting clearer around what's really most urgent to you. If the idea of, for example, learning to be fluent in Spanish and you're not a Spanish speaker, do you want to do that within the next 3 months? Or if you're like, sometime in the next 3 years, I would love to be conversationally fluent in Spanish. This is how that sense of time perspective can be really helpful because it helps us organize all of these desires. It's rare that someone only has 1 or 2 desires. What are the things that you want? And let's map them out. So that's the first part of the workbook section on the organize piece of this work. The second piece is really getting clear on the things that are most immediately relevant to you. Okay, so once you've mapped out all of the dreams that you collected in the first portion of this work, and you mapped it out in the 3 months, the 1 year, the 3 years, or your lifetime, take a look at that page and notice what are the top 1, 2, or 3 goals that you're like really raring to go on. Now, it could be that they're the most immediate, that they all happen to fall in the 3 months from now. I would love for all of this to have happened. Cool. Some of them you might feel more excited about that are a little bit further away, right? That it's like, well, 3 years, within 3 years, I would love to have, let's say, a thriving side hustle that I'm making, $100,000 a year off of. And I think 3 years feels good to me. That might be more exciting than I've set up like a new salad bar in my kitchen and I want that within the next 3 months. We're looking for levels of excitement. We're not necessarily looking for the 3 months. The stuff that we want that hasn't happened in your life yet, some of them are just gonna naturally happen because you're thinking about them, not because you necessarily have to set like formal goals around them. This is where people kind of get mixed up between setting goals and going after goals versus writing a to-do list. So for example, I'll take an example from my personal life. Today, actually, before recording this video, I set up a small composting bin under my kitchen sink. Wanting to be a family who composts and then uses compost to create a garden has been on my dream list for a long time. But it's not this huge undertaking that requires me to grow into being a woman who composts, right? It's literally just a to-do list. It was purchase the bin, purchase the eco bags that you need for composting, and put it under the sink. I don't need to set goals around that. That's a to-do list. But it was also a desire, but it's not a goal. So here's the thing. That would have come up in my dreaming process in the previous video, and it would have featured in the 3-month area of the mind map, but it's not something I'm going to set a goal around. That's something that designates itself to a to-do list item that eventually gets done. And it got done within the 3-month timeline of when I started really wanting to have a composting feature in our house. So that's the difference. Just because something is in the more immediate future, like you would want it to happen sooner, doesn't mean that these are the goals that you're necessarily going to set for the next 4 weeks. It might be, but it doesn't have to be. I wanted to put that out there so we can start to talk about the difference between the to-do list item versus a goal to set, okay? So when you look at your mind map of all the desires, all the dreams that came out from the dreaming exercise, and you've mapped them out on the mind map in the organized section of your workbook, choose 1 to 3 of them that you feel really excited about. You're like, yeah, I'm ready to make progress on it now. I want to get going. Let's dive in. Let's do this. Do not choose more than 3. Another reason people never hit their goals is because they set too many of them. For our work together, we are setting between 1 and 3 goals for every 4 weeks, okay? Now, for those of you who will insist, because you exist, for those of you who will insist on setting 8 goals, 10 goals, 5 goals for every 4 weeks, I invite you to take a closer look and see which of these things are actually to-do list items. Are they actual goals, or are they just a long list of to-dos to get done in the next 4 weeks? A goal is something that is going to require you to grow into it. That's why this is called the Grow and Get It Goal Getters Club. It's not the just do it Goal Getters Club, right? Because if you could just do it now, it's a to-do list item. If it's something where you're like, I got to learn some stuff, or I got to meet some people, or I got to learn how to, treat myself better. I got to learn how to manage my health differently. I have to stop self-sabotaging in my relationships. There's something about our progress from who we are today and the version of us who has accomplished our goals where there was a growth period there. That is your journey to a goal versus you've done something off of a to-do list item. Okay? So the second page of the organized section of your workbook has a table, and there's 3 columns. The first column is dream I'm choosing to work on for the immediate future. So here's where we're talking about for the next 4 weeks. This is the dream I'm working toward. I'm not telling you that your dream life is going to happen in the next 4 weeks if you just work hard enough. That's not what this is about. Forget hustle culture. This is not happening here. This is not that kind of culture. The second column in the table is called feelings upon fruition. So once you have reached that dream, what are you going to feel? Remember, this harkens back to that exercise in the dream section that's talking about feelings. Once you accomplish something, what are you going to feel as a result? Are you going to feel valued? Are you going to feel satisfied? Are you going to feel like, yeah, I'm super confident now. I feel good in my skin. I feel like I deserve to be in the room. What are you going to feel once that dream has come into fruition for you? The third column is called identity statement. Okay, so here's where we start to really use the mental mechanics to our advantage. So take your top 1, 2, or 3 dreams from your mind map and write them in this particular table. You're going to write the dream on the first column. You're going to write what feelings you are probably going to feel once that dream has come to fruition. And then you're going to write an identity statement. So here's a couple of examples that I've put on the worksheet for you to take a look at. So you might have a dream that you want to work toward not necessarily accomplished by, because some of you have really big dreams, and I love that. We're not supposed to be dreaming in 4-week segments. We're supposed to be acting in 4-week segments to create progress toward the dream. Okay? So, an example. I have a dream to become conversationally fluent in Spanish. Feelings upon fruition, what I wrote was I would feel competent, I would feel confident, I would feel proud of myself. And the identity statement, here's where we say an I am statement that reflects the person we're going to be as the person who has achieved that dream. So, for example, my identity statement is I'm a global citizen. Of course I'm bilingual. Of course I'm multilingual. I'm a global citizen. So when you identify as a certain version of you, the dream that you want becomes that much more supported motivationally. Here's where we start to really get into the psychology of things. Because if we're just doing things because it sounds good, or because someone else expects us to, or because it seems to be the next logical step in our growth and development, personally or professionally, the research shows that our motivation wanes and we don't hit the goal because we don't have the personal resonance to it. So by tagging in an identity statement of the aspirational version of who we want to be, it helps connecting the dream to the immediate goal, to who we want to be, to who we're willing to get up and practice being in the here and now. Okay, a second example is that dream I'm working, the first column, dream I'm choosing to work on for the immediate future is to have clear fitness goals for every quarter of 2025. This is a really interesting one because this doesn't articulate what my actual fitness goals are for every quarter. This goal is to have clear fitness goals. It's okay to have a goal, if that makes sense. My goal is to have goals in this area of my life. That is totally fine. That's totally fair game in this space. So the example is my dream is to have clear fitness goals for every quarter of 2025. Okay, so I know exactly what I'm working on in terms of my health and fitness life from here throughout the rest of the year. Once that dream comes to fruition, my feelings would be, I'm feeling strong, I'm feeling proud of myself, I'm feeling vibrant and energized. So if I had clear goals around my fitness and health for the rest of the year, I'm feeling fired up. I'm feeling like, yeah, I feel like I know what I'm focusing on. I feel really good about it. I feel motivated to go get those goals, right? The identity statement that I'm tagging in, and you get to make up your own statements, okay? The I am identity statement that I'm tagging in that resonates with me, that feels really good for me, is I'm a woman who takes her health and fitness seriously. So as a woman who takes her health and fitness seriously, she has clear fitness goals every quarter. As a woman who sees herself as a global citizen, she does speak more than one language, right? And so we're taking the identity piece and making the goal a no-brainer. Of course, this is an aspect about her. Of course, she X, Y, and Z. The identity statement is something that we can come back to on a regular basis, and we can use in terms of affirmations. We can write it in our journals to remind us that this is who we aspire to be. This is something that we can lean into when people ask us, why did you set this particular goal? Because I desire to be a woman who takes her health and fitness seriously. Because I really want to see myself as a global citizen. These are those things that start to engage the logic piece of the brain and say, oh yeah, this is why I'm doing this. We're leaning into the why of goal setting, okay? So it's okay also if your why is because I really want it. If one of your goals is one day to have a Louis Vuitton handbag that costs $6,000, you don't need some kind of noble why behind it. It could be your identity statement might be because I'm a woman who values high quality luxury goods. You might feel some kind of way about that. There's always going to be someone who's going to judge you about your goals, who's going to judge you about your motivation, who's going to judge you because that's part of what we do as a society these days. We judge each other, right? Our work is to show up honor what we want and go for what we want, regardless of what anyone else thinks. We don't need everyone's approval. We don't need anyone's approval, really. And so if your goal is to eventually be in a place where you treat yourself to a $6,000 Louis V bag, go for it. Write it down, write an identity statement that really works for you, and identify the things that you're gonna feel once you get that bag in your possession. Go for it. Okay, so this is how we start to get organized, and we start to bring, like I said in the first video, we're moving from like wishing, like one day I would love to, or that would be so cool one day, into getting very serious about, wait a minute, this could actually happen. And going forward, we're gonna get super clear on getting very specific, getting strategies in place, and getting tactics in place to really bring those, what used to be, these esoteric dreams that have no tangibility to them, and we're gonna bring them into reality. This is where it gets really exciting, guys. So have fun with the organizational piece. I'll see you in the third video for step 3, which is clarify.